let me share my screen for my project. Slideshow. Start. Okay, so for my project, the individual differences presentation, I chose dyslexia. So just to start off, what is dyslexia? So it's a specific developmental disorder. It's characterized by specific, isolated impairment of reading and spelling. And what's interesting about dyslexia is that what kind of can cue somebody to a student with dyslexia could be that they don't have low intelligence or they don't have any delayed developmental cognitive abilities. So all those things could be good, but they could still be struggling in reading or spelling, and that's something that cues a lot of people to dyslexia. So diagnosis of dyslexia, those happen through reading and spelling tests. So for that, you're looking at how fast can a student read, how accurate are the words that the student is saying, and also is there comprehension there? Is the student able to read but also understand what they are reading as well? So results of that are found in percentile rankings. So if a student is scoring less than 16, that's going to mean that 85% of students around that age range scored higher than that. And that can be, or that is an indication that a student does have dyslexia. Something that I thought was really interesting as I was reading was that it is also recommended to take these tests in the morning because performance is at its highest. And of course, we want to give students, their best go at it for this test or these two tests. So, characteristics of dyslexia, there are many. So, one that's really big would be having a difficulty decoding words, just focusing a lot on what's this word, how does it sound out, what are these letters to sounds combinations, decoding words, and having a difficulty in that is a really big characteristic. Again, that goes right back to connecting the differences between various letters and sounds. And that also goes into, say, mixing up small words. So, say we're reading the word at, but a student with dyslexia will say to, or said, and, or does and go. But it also translates to even just letter mix ups. So that could be a D for B, or a P for a G. And that could be mixing of words like dog for bog. And then there's even more switching up that first letter and the last letter for tip and pit, switching up various letters in a word for felt and left, and then switching up saying things like house and home. Here's some more. So students with dyslexia also have trouble remembering facts and just like learning new skills are, relying so much on memorization that they don't really have that much understanding. And I believe that goes right back to decoding. If a student is so focused on breaking down a word, they're really not going to be thinking about what does that word mean to the text or what does this whole sentence mean. All they're really focusing on is how do I say the word? I don't even know, how to read the word. And so that comprehension just kind of gets thrown out. So that could be a characteristic. They're prone to accidents, difficult planning. Something that I thought was interesting that I learned is that, they could have an awkward pencil grip. This fist, thumb, hooked over fingers, just kind of like an awkward, not the normal pencil grip, which I thought was kind of interesting. Trouble telling time and back to the pencil grip, having a poor fine motor uh, coordination. So the commonality of dyslexia. So 80% of SLDs are of dyslexia, and about 5% of children are diagnosed with dyslexia. So if we think for teachers, that's probably going to be about like one or maybe two students in your class. So it's not like teachers are just not going to be able or not have the opportunity to work with students with dyslexia. Sounds about like, you know, students or teachers will be working with students with dyslexia. So it's really important just to have a grand knowledge of it as well. So, what teachers should be prepared for, and I think this slide is very important. 40 to 60% of students with dyslexia have some type of anxiety, depression, and a lot of them have ADHD as well. Um, and that really just kind of comes from like a lot of just negative thoughts, just gloomy, sad, can feel isolating to have dyslexia for some students. And that can definitely bring them down and start to fall into other, manifestations. As well, with that, teachers should be aware that they have, poor memory issues. Um, and tasks given to them can be easily forgotten. And as mentioned right here, again, a lot of students with dyslexia also have ADHD as well. So, knowing the difference between the two is great, but a lot of these things align as well. So primary methods for helping students with dyslexia, just create number one foremost is creating an inclusive classroom. Making sure that every child feels welcome in the community and being able to have the students have each other's back. Those are really great tools for including students with dyslexia and making them feel a part of the community, even with sometimes they might feel like that, not feel connected. Um, Making sure you have an incredibly inclusive classroom is key. Um, Also, there's a lot of different modification or accommodations that you can make as well. Just try to like simplify instruction, keeping things pretty straightforward, less wordy the better. Block out too much stimuli, so not creating words or papers that have all these pictures around them and they're just too busy, or even classroom environments that are just too busy. Blocking that out would be great. Step-by-step instructions. Again, that goes back to just simplified instructions. Just right to the point. Do this, then this. That's really good for them. Also, repeating instructions as well. I know that sometimes it can be frustrating to have to repeat yourself, but you know, working with students who have dyslexia, that's something that's really key for them. And teachers should be unbothered, at times to have to repeat instructions. Another one would be like avoiding popcorn reading or any moment where a child has to read in front of the whole class. Definitely unexpected. I'm going to be a future teacher myself, and I'm 21 years old. I would rather not ever read randomly in front of a class, even now. So I can't imagine how a student with dyslexia would feel. um, that would be definitely a lot of anxiety for them. So avoiding that would be key. How to find more information. So this first website right here is a great place to start. You click on that, and it's going to give you a list of so many different other organizations and links to those organizations that are perfect for you know being around or working with a student who has dyslexia. So this one would be definitely the main one I would go to, the first one, and then three out of what I saw in there, which they were all pretty good. I picked out three as well that were really great for teachers and parents for students who have dyslexia. Finally, what I found to be interesting was the 40 to 60% of students having the psychological manifestations, as mentioned earlier. Um, I don't know why, but I didn't really consider that. And it makes so much sense, being anxious to have to read aloud, or feeling maybe even a little bit isolated from your other peers could definitely bring on some of those psychological manifestations in general. So that definitely makes sense. Um, Also, something that I found to be really interesting, which actually I recently interviewed a kindergarten teacher, and we talked about, all things kindergarten, and she mentioned how I'm not quite sure if it's just at her school or a statewide thing, but they are now testing for dyslexia in kindergarten. The teachers, at least I know, at least at that school, that they mandate that teachers test for dyslexia, which is great. Of course, the sooner you can find out this kind of information, the better. Just so you can get a good plan going of how to meet that child and moving forward with a student who has dyslexia. So I thought that that was pretty interesting that I actually just recently learned even before picking this topic, which was great. And then here are my references for my project. The first one, this one was a journal. The second one, wait, the first one was, no, the second one is the journal. The first one was, my apologies. The first one was the article, the second one wait, I'm getting them confused. I'm so sorry. I gotta remember here. No, the first one was the book, and the second one was the journal. Please forgive me. And then the last one and the last two were actually websites, and they were the same website. And I thought it was a very reputable website, the dyslexia resource. But yeah, that is my resources for this project. It was great learning about students who have dyslexia, and I think that it's really important that teachers are prepared, aware, and they understand more about it in general. So, uh, let me stop sharing my screen, and thank you so much.